So first of all, we wanted it to feel like the time matters. There is this feeling of urgency to objectives. Players that are worried about this system and it's skeptical, I would say give it a chance.
Yeah, tell me all the different endings of this game.
A lot.
Spell them out.
Maybe in half a year,
Radio Times does gaming.
Yes, Radio Times does gaming. My name is Rob Leane. I'm the gaming editor at Radio Times. And today we have got another preview of a 2026 game for you. At Gamescom, I chatted to the director and the creative director of The Blood of Dawnwalker, the new open-world vampire game coming to us from a number of Witcher 3 alumni at their new company. And yeah, it was a fun conversation, so let's just cut straight to it. Guys, so lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm sure you're super busy. I've literally just come out of the presentation and there's so much to talk about, I almost don't know where to start. Obviously, you guys are a new company, you're bringing a lot of heritage with you from previous jobs. What was like the original kind of nexus of this idea that made you really want to do this game?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to start with that? Because you were here from the start.
Yeah. The original idea was, to create something which is new, which is unique. And when we start to thinking about our protagonist, Cohen, we tried to develop the character which wasn't appear yet in the pop culture, and also we loved the vampire IPs like the True Blood, the Interview with the Vampire, and and the books also. And we figured out that maybe we will create combination of the vampire and the human. A little like you can think about the werewolves, that at the day the werewolf is a human, but at the night is a vampire, and this way we create the Cohen, the Dawnwalker, and start from the protagonist. We try to build a world which will be rich of legends, rich of the ideas we can build on, because what we try to create is what we want to create is a saga. It's not the one game, which we will develop in time and move through the eras with Cohen and showing the events in the world from different angle.
That's true. When you want to have the possibility to jump in at later points in history, what makes you decide, okay, this is the point to start at? Why is this where and when the origin?
Actually, it's like when we're thinking about the medieval times, that was the hard times, and that was times where the big events like the plague was happens in the world, and we search for the time where it would be the best to come out with with the monsters, with the creatures of the night, and and show them in full full way, and we decide that this moment in the history is the best to show that, and the comparative mountains are really connected with in the legends with the vampires and the other creatures, and we decide that this will be the best place to start. That's why we choose it, and the events you saw in the CGI is the beginning of the origin story of the Cohen and his adventure actually.
And also logically, we were thinking if we want a story about vampires ruling, coming out from the shadows and taking over part of human society. We wanted it to be some place that is isolated, that they got cut off from the rest of the world, and some kind of crisis, like Konrad was saying, the Black Death, that kind of allowed them to leverage this against the human reservations they might have against working for the vampires. So the vampire blood, it heals the plague. It kind of immunizes them to it. So it was like a good trade-off for them, because it allowed them to live through this terrible period. The rest of Europe is being ravaged, and this one valley is kind of like a sanctuary almost.
Exactly.
Right? From the plague.
And obviously, bribe the people and convince them that maybe the monsters are not so bad if they heal, the people.
And on top of that, I think originally, we knew from the start, we wanted to aim somewhere in the medieval times, because this was the time period that we felt is compelling. Like what Konrad was saying, we were looking for a region that has these vampiric connotations, but also has a rich folklore and so on, and Carpathians are perfect for this. Yeah, and which I believe we are showing in the game as well. We are taking, a lot from the folklore, from these regions.
Definitely. I like the good thing about vampire folklore is that there's so much of it, and it's so varied, and it can be quite flexible to what you want or don't want in your game. Obviously, you have the presentation which I saw was a lot about the difference between trying to do something at night versus trying to do it at day, which strikes me as that must be, it's almost like you have to design every level twice kind of thing to make it work.
I mean, it depends, of course. Like the differences between day and night vary in different quests, but yes, it's kind of like building two loops almost. And it's both on the narrative quest side, so like what can you do in these quests, but also on the gameplay side, because of course this means you have two sets of gameplay abilities, two ways to explore the world. The community, of course, is different because during daytime you have all the people, like, having their day-to-day routines and so on. And during the nighttime, of course, most people sleep. So it's, a completely different world. Yeah, we paid a lot of effort and attention to make both of these fun, because that was very important to us. But I think it's also the strength of our game, because usually in vampiric games, because if you are playing a vampire, you're kind of tied just to the nighttime, right? So in our game, what I feel is very cool is that you get to explore this valley in both of these worlds, kind of.
Exactly.
That's kind of the idea behind Dawnwalker.
And what is really important, that our lore is not the lore about the vampires, because the vampires are only one kind of the creatures. It's a part of that, It's really rich lore where you have a lot kind of the creatures of the night. And the vampires are one of them. They are quite strong, but they are not like they are not the most powerful creatures. And we right now like this part. We built it around the vampires, about the branches and his clique, but in the future we will touch a lot of different subjects. And also in this part we have like different stories about the different creatures. It's like, it's a lot more than, I want just to say that it's not like only, the game about the vampires.
Yeah, it's like the hidden world kind of thing, where you have the magic, you have these other creatures, and not all of them like the vampires, so they have these interactions and so on. I don't want to spoil too much, of course, because we want people to experience it in the game, but Konrad is absolutely right. It's more than just vampires.
Exactly, yeah.
And you have that system where you can kind of see the little chunks of the day or the night. And they said in the room that they don't want it to necessarily feel like a pressure on the player of, oh God, I'm running out of time, but more of like, this is a resource and you can spend it. How do you go about trying to make it not feel like, oh God, I'm running out of time, I'm doing something wrong?
So of course it's very experimental, because not many games do this. We are also very excited about it for this exact reason, because it's like this unique thing, right? So first of all, we wanted it to feel like the time matters. There is this feeling of urgency to objectives, and we wanted you to actually think, do I want to do this or do I want to do that? How do I want to spend this resource? At the same time, we don't want this artificial pressure that will stop you from exploring the world, for example, right? You do get clear communication from the game at every point. When are you going to spend this resource, right? So, as you could have seen in the build, for example, the quest objectives tell you like how many time segments are you going to spend if you're going to finish these objectives. Sometimes specific dialogue options can lead to spending time segments. So it's all in your hands. Like you said, we call it time as a resource, because that's how we treat it. It's part of the game. Just standing in one place is not going to cost you any time. So the time is kind of waiting for you to perform these actions. So you can think about it like the closest games I can think of to compare it to is like Persona and maybe like Pentiment, So it's specific moments. It's actions, not just exploring and having fun, right? So you can still...
Exactly, and I would add to that, I need to back a little to the first question, but when we create the vision and speak about the game with other partners, with Mati, we spoke that we don't want to do the same game, the same structure, the same the features and so on. We want to evolve the genre. We want, because first and foremost, we are the artists, like, designers, and, all of us wants to create, and we are also the gamers.
Yeah.
And we want to do the game which we, we want to play, right? And we want to evolve the genre, add, few things to the existent, like, structure of the classical open world storytelling RPGs, and to do something new. And the time is one of those things. And spoiler alert, but we're speaking about it in the interviews, that your main goal in the game is to help your abducted family, right? And you know that in some time something can happen to them, and you cannot build the proper, like, tension and emotions if you know that
They'll be there forever. And
exactly
for you, yeah.
it's like you cannot, like, do story-wise this thing. That's why we add this system to show you that the clock ticks and stuff will happen.
Yeah.
And not only, like, it close you to the event, but also in this time when you're doing the particular things. And our game structure is totally different than the games, actually. The closest, example is the first and second Fallout from 90s. And, what we have is the narrative sandbox, which means that you have the goal, and all the stuff, all the content in the game is, the pieces which you can use however you want. You can combine it together and create your own adventure to achieve this goal, right?
Yeah.
And when using those pieces, the time is passing, but also it's visible for the antagonist and his click what is happening, and the stuff in words are progressing, and it making one consistent, like, adventure through this, from the beginning till the end of the game. It's quite, like, not only unique, but this experience is different. And it's really cool to check. It's something which it's quite how to say it, familiar for the players who playing the open world RPGs, because we have a lot of stuff which appear in other open world RPGs, but with adding these particular elements, like the time, the narrative sandbox, the different combat, it makes this unique feel that it has sense. I think that what we are doing and what we want to do is, like, to make something which will be really close to the pen and paper RPGs. Because in the pen and paper RPGs, the game master react for what you are doing, and and change the events and change the story based on your actions. And here we create so many content that you decide how you go through it, and it's quite similar to the pen and paper session.
That's awesome. And it's on the screen now, 22 days left to rescue your family. What immediately makes me wonder is, like, what happens if you don't? Is it like a hard, you've failed the game, or is it kind of designed in a way that you can't completely mess it up? Or
So I would say, because we don't want to spoil it for the players, I would say we treat it more as a choice and consequence thing than a game over thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This much I can tell you. I don't want to tell you what exactly happens, because it would take away from the fun.
Yeah, tell me all the different endings of this game.
A lot.
Spell them out.
Maybe in half a year,
Too much, I think, to test everything.
I think this much we can say at this point. So I
Yeah.
would say, for players that are worried about this system and it's skeptical, I would say give it a chance. I think it adds a lot, like what Konrad was saying, to the immersion, to the experience itself, but it won't cut you off from the content.
No, but it could come.
I think it's a really cool part of, like, the experience of playing a game to, like you say, try and evolve it and do it differently. Because there's a moment in, which one is it, Mass Effect 2? In one of the Mass Effect, where it's like, if you don't do X before Y time, then that's cut off, that person's dead, they're not coming back, and stuff like that.
We have some moments where things cut off,
Yeah.
but most of the time we try to build it in a way that you get basically a different experience, instead of, like, losing out, missing out on something.
It's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, and sometimes it's really important that avoiding some choice is also a choice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And it has its own consequences.
I use this example of a burning house, right? So when you encounter a burning house, the time, if you, like, ignore it and if you progress the time, you can expect when you come back that house to be burned down and some other consequences that are taking place in there, right? Whereas if you would immediately, jump in and help and do something else would happen.
Exactly.
So I think this is the best way to think about it. However, if you stand still and keep looking at the house and leave your PC running for a few hours, it's fine. It's not gonna punish you for it.
Exactly, and you know that there are icons which move the time, and you know that time will be moved when you know do something different.
When you decide
if you
to
decide
spend
to
this
back to the
resource.
house, it's also fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, as in the mission they just showed us, I think it like illustrated what you're talking about really well, because like you can see, because they show you immediately, they show you the nighttime version first, where you can kind of like sneak in and find the book that you're looking
Yes.
for.
Yes.
And in the daytime, there's like a more kind of detailed storyline involving the deacon in the church and how you can go to him, but you're going to spend some time with him if you want to follow, or you can go to confess to the priest and spend some time on that.
Exactly, and we only showed you a few of the paths through this quest. There are some other paths you can unlock, and some of them are like, do I prefer to spend time, or maybe do I prefer to bribe someone to get it done with faster, right? But then I have to spend this other currency that I might need otherwise. So it's all about like introducing cool choices and more agency for the player, right? You get to decide how do you want to juggle this. And of course, as the time passes, as the time of the day changes to the night, your abilities change also. So you might take that into your map considerations, right? Because maybe you want to wait till nighttime and do the vampire stuff, for example.
Awesome. And I know you guys have spoken before about wanting to avoid, kind of generic quests like fetch quests and things like that. I mean, so how do you go about your designing a game when you're like, none of this thing that's super easy and we could do it 1,000 times if we wanted to, but actually, like, I imagine the writing process and like the scripts of this game must have gone on and on and on. Like,
In a nutshell, it's a process we developed back in the day.
Yeah.
Basically, the way it goes is like we try to make as much content as we can, really handcrafted, custom, and each of the pieces of the content to have something memorable in it. The process itself is like the designers create like tons of pitches, and there's like super short, like 1-2 sentences about what is the core idea of this thing that we want to build out. And then we have a very strict like selection process where we just remove the ideas that we feel are not good enough or like don't have enough potential to be built out into a full-fledged quest. And yeah, we generally iterate a lot as well. Once it's built as well, we play test it a lot of times. A lot of times we redesign things. And in a nutshell, it's trying to make every piece of content have something memorable in it. Like even if it's like very simple short content, because we have like short activities in the game as well, we try to infuse these with these little like nuggets of, it's difficult to talk about without spoilers, but maybe it will actually even like feed back into the main quest of you rescuing your family in some way, right? Or maybe you unlock something that will help you in some other quest. Like these connections make it feel very unique as well. I think the thing we are trying to avoid usually is like these kind of like, you mentioned fetch quests. Like I famously said once day, no fetch quests. The thing I was talking about is like these quests where you're told to do like, I don't know, gather 10 bear pelts or something and bring them, right? And there is some kind of reason behind it, but it's this repetitive task that you have to do and complete it. Most of our things are like, either you have tasks that are narratively driven and step by step, telling some kind of story, or if they are activities in the world, they're kind of self-contained and they don't try to pad your time, the playtime artificially.
Yeah, but Matthew said about, the design process, but also really important for us is the review process, because how we review the game, like Matty, me, and so on, we play the game as a players, like as a gamers. And when you find in other games this fetch content, you have this particular feeling of repetitiveness stuff, right? And when we play and even have a glimpse of feeling something like this,
we feel we need to redesign and
exactly, we like putting it down, speak with the people, and search for the solutions how to make it like unique, in this place. And this is the clue actually. This is like the everyday job of playing the game and iterate the contents to find the best balance of of feeling how you.
It can be annoying, of course, because we want to design it and be done with it, but we're perfectionists, and we redesign often.
Yeah. It's never like this that you do, the paper design and then you implement it and the game is, fine. It's
very, very rarely. It can happen. It happens, but very, very on rare occasions.
Rare, yeah. Usually those are like iterations playing the game and speaking about the feeling, because usually you have the feeling, and sometimes we're thinking that that the reason is particular thing, but it's not always true. The feeling is right, but we need to find the source with the designers, and feel it proper way.
Yeah.
One thing kind of related to that I really liked in the presentation was one thing I'm a fan of is when like a character says, the example was the deacon saying, "Oh, you need to go find this caretaker. He's probably drunk. He's probably in the pub or something." And you go and look for him, and actually like it's not what happened. Like what he thinks has happened is not what's actually happened. So then your expectations, and then you're so surprised, and it's like, "Oh my god, this is what's actually happened." Like, I love being misdirected.
Yeah.
But it's like a magic trick. Like you think it's going to be
It's one
this.
of the designer tricks we use often,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I mean, there is a number of them, and we also try to mix and match. So, because it's always this game of like, these days a lot of people have a lot of like media literacy, right? Like people watch a ton of shows, they play a ton of games. There's a number of like patterns that they learn to see, and they're like, oh, this guy is the killer for sure. Like there are things like that. And we are aware of this also. So it's the constant game of like playing with you, the viewer or the player. Like what are the things that you will think and how we can twist them and make them more interesting.
Exactly. And also, with the choices and the consequences, as more the consequence is unpredictable for people, is better because if you predict it, you think, okay, I beat the game, or the game is like straightforward that I know what will happen. If not, then you know that it's more like in the life that you do something, but you don't really know what can happen later.
Maybe we do like the short-term consequence that is kind of predictable, but long-term it's unpredictable. Like again in life. It's kind of designed to keep you on your toes, right? So you actually pay attention and not just do it like Konrad said mechanically.
Exactly.
Awesome. And one thing I was talking about is that they were mentioning a lot during the presentation how, since we put the gameplay reveal out, we got this feedback and now we're implementing this.
Oh yes, yeah.
How important is that to you guys to not just be like, here's what we've done, be happy with it, but to listen to what's coming back even before the game is out and like to be reacting to stuff?
Absolutely, absolutely. We followed the feedback to the trailer, the gameplay released closely, and we already introduced a number. Very good feedback actually in there.
Exactly.
Maybe you can elaborate because
there was a lot of feedback. Like we read about the camera. This is the first thing, and we introduced it, instantly because it was quite easy actually to add another camera. The second thing was the combat system and the active abilities panel, like the pause and the cutscenes. We tried the cutscenes to add more cinematic feeling to the combat, but we figured out that actually players are right that it stopped the pacing a little.
Yeah.
That's why we move it on the gameplay fully, because actually the animations were prepared this way that it was quite easy to move it to the gameplay, and we test it, and it's true that it's better. And also there was a lot of feedback about the graphics, and this actually we knew when we released the content that not everything is perfect, and we work on the graphics. It's a process, because we need to set up the let's say beautiful corner which has all of the features, graphic features, and then move it to the rest of the game. And we knew that we are not in that place before recording and releasing the previous marketing materials. But on the other hand, we in the company we want to be transparent, and we don't want to push people to crunch to achieve the stuff which they will anyway achieve in time. And we knew that there is a work, and we show it. We heard the people feedback about the graphics. We add what we needed to add before, and make it even more interesting when.
And we're still working on it.
Yeah, and we still we miss still some features which will be added there, but I think that we are really close to the final stage.
Awesome. And obviously we're here at Gamescom. What's it like to be at this point in the development? We've obviously got quite a lot that you can show. Are you still kind of is part of the point of being here to get more feedback and feed that back in and continue to kind of change and iterate?
Absolutely. We still have time to work on things. And like we said, the graphics, for example, we're still working on. I think the changes in combat camera and all that were great. I feel it plays much better. It's much more fluid now.
Yeah.
It flows better. We're definitely open for more feedback from the community and from the journalists, of course. And at the same time, I would say it is very exciting to be here because this is the first big show where we show our game, and this is the first game from the studio, really. Of course, we have been on shows before with our previous games, but like this is the first one that is like truly start to finish ours, but our company. So it is very exciting. It is a little bit stressful, of course, you know, looking up to the opinions from people. But I think it's a good process. Again, the feedback we got so far is very good, very useful. And if we shown like some kind of, you know, unreal version, like beautified version of our build, I feel we might get less useful feedback.
Exactly. And you know, we taking our time and we going to the process proper way. And you know, you need to be aware that, you know, it's not only the PC version, but in the parallel we're doing the console versions, which working already. The parity is almost the same right now with the really good FPS, and like we need to do the steps proper way, because if we will try to like speed it up and create some like unreal, you know, shortcut or graphics, it will be not possible to move it to the consoles later. And we want to be really transparent and to show how the process look like. You know, we will not don't want to, you know, to fake stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. And like you said, it's your first game at your new company and your own kind of new original kind of concept. Does it give you like that extra sense of, you know, ownership and a sense of freedom of anything you want to do, you can find a way to do it, kind of thing? It must be cool.
I would say so. Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's it's just a different feeling.
It's different feeling, like, you know, it's a different pressure, because, you know, we are responsible for 150 people in the team, and you know, and who wants to do, you know, the best experience they can, you know, for the people. We are aware that some of solutions we are doing are quite unique and new, and you know, and but like
difficult for us, honestly, because since they're experimental, we can't just simply do more of the same. You have to, you know, really think it through, and you know, some of it is risky, but that's why it's interesting, right?
But innovation is always risky, you know. You cannot innovate without take a risk and see how it happens. On the other hand, you know, we're doing the focus test and, you know, check, you know, the professional opinions of the, you know, of the group of players, how they feel the time, how they feel the combat, and so on and so on. And we are in a really good place, like, from that. And I hope, I keep my fingers crossed that players will love it, you know, as we love.
Awesome. That was so great. I really enjoyed seeing it. Look forward to getting my hands on it at some point. And yeah, best of luck with the rest of its development. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Radio Times does gaming.
Thank you for listening to the Radio Times Gaming Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the pod and share it with a friend, won't you? Please. We'll see you next time.